If you're in healthcare in some capacity, you're more than likely interested, just like myself, in, hey, how the big tech players and what's their role in healthcare, right? They're dominant in a lot of different areas. And I wanted to break down and kind of unpack specifically in this video some insights that I recently downloaded and started really getting into. Specifically, it's CB Insights. You may be familiar with it. If you're not, I'll include a link below so you can check out the full PDF. Full disclosure, there's like 40 slides in the PDF. So this is the Reader's Digest version. So I think I've got about 10 slides in here, specifically showcasing how big tech is involved across healthcare. Obviously, healthcare is such a big industry. It's always interesting to see how these big tech companies, what their role is, how much capacity they're having in healthcare. So wanted to unpack four major players. You're familiar with all these: Amazon, Google, Microsoft, and NVIDIA. And so let's get into it here in this first slide. You can see that the big players obviously are having some big inroads. And this is a really cool slide because it actually breaks down specifically the share of activity by sub-industry. So you can see up here on the right, it breaks it down again by sub-industry. So you've got health data, you've got digital therapeutics, got monitoring, diagnostic tech, you have care delivery, you've got drug R&D, health insurance, and then digital pharmacy tech. And you can see NVIDIA is just crushing it right now. I mean, they've got such a lion's share of every different sub-industry. And then if you pop over to the other part of the graph, the count of relationships by big tech companies, obviously you can see the breakdown here again. And it's not a surprise for NVIDIA. Health data and analytics is one of their highest percentages. Digital therapeutics and wellness tech there. I'm going to break down in some of the other slides and unpack this a little bit more, but this is like an overarching, like landscape of what the big tech companies and what they're focusing in healthcare. So I thought it was pretty interesting. Amazon, honestly, I thought they were a bigger player. They're like second or actually third here on the list. Google's number 2. Amazon's number 3, and then Microsoft is number 4. Again, this was kind of breaking news for me. Didn't realize NVIDIA was such a big player as far as big tech and healthcare. So obviously there's some big takeaways for this slide. And then specifically each of these companies and what's their differentiation in healthcare. This slide kind of breaks it down where Amazon is going deeper into primary and specialized care, virtual primary and specialized care, white labeling, telehealth platforms, virtual expert medical option solutions. And the next few slides will unpack that a little bit more. This is kind of a high level for each one of these companies and what they're focusing on. Google, not a surprise, they're amassing troves of healthcare data, which could play a role in biotech bets. They're also heavily invested in genetic therapeutics market. And then flipping over to Microsoft, healthcare orgs using a lot of AI tools. They continue to acquire healthcare tech into the space here, AI related, obviously. Specifically, they just had a recent announcement. Actually, it was a couple years ago for $20 billion. They acquired a big tech healthcare when it comes to AI. And then NVIDIA, as I mentioned, longstanding hardware dominance position to its play a major role in future smart hospitals. So we'll get into that here in a second, because this report, again, by CB Insights, does a really good job in breaking this down. And then for Amazon, their focus is primary care. So you can see across these different brands, you may be familiar with some of these. I was familiar with One Medical. I'd never been, but it's a B2B hybrid care. They acquired that just last year for $4 billion. And then the asynchronous for virtual care, they launched this Amazon Clinic. And then obviously they're getting in the pharmaceutical space. They're integrating full service pharmacy and not a shocker delivery. I personally haven't used the pharmacy but I definitely have seen it just, using obviously Amazon. So this makes a lot of sense to me for just the future of primary care and where they're getting into it. Makes a lot of sense for Amazon, obviously. And I like how they've branded these. Again, I'm not too familiar the virtual care here for the clinic. I'm not too familiar with that aspect of Amazon. But again, it's primary care focus. And then obviously with their Amazon Web Services, they've got the cloud. Obviously, that's a big aspect for them when it comes to healthcare. They have a massive amount of data too. So their cloud is building a massive infrastructure for healthcare, which again is one of their main competitors is obviously Google. And then speaking of Google, let's start unpacking where they're at. Google is building bridges between providers, health systems, and developers. And then also generative AI, they're double downing on that, which is not a surprise. And, there's no easy solution for healthcare. It's a complex business. It's a complex system that's out there. So it's good to see, and we need these big tech companies going in there and trying to streamline a lot of these things when it comes to healthcare, because it's very complicated. And so hopefully with like Google on this particular one, getting into generative AI, that should definitely be a huge help. Obviously with Google, they have their cloud. They're partnering with a lot of other healthcare companies, analyzing, doing a lot of back-end data here, as you can see. So whether it's oncology data, electronic health records, bill payment, cost transparency. I mean, these are major concerns by consumers, right? Especially when it comes to oncology, data, understanding that. We've all heard of the electronic health records. And then obviously when it comes to bill payment, there definitely needs to be some more transparency. So I like to see Google getting into that. They're also partnering with other companies when it comes to AI, when it comes to pathology and radiology. This is a big step for them in the fact that right now, pathologists, radiologists, there's only so many in the United States. They can only cover so much territory when they're looking at scans. Again, when it comes to either radiology or pathology, so AI will help. Because there's a massive amount of volume that's coming in for people to look at, right? Oncology solutions when they're getting scans. And, you can only have so many pathologists and radiologists reading these scans. So AI is going to be a huge player in this market. There's a couple recent partnerships with Google, with Bayer, and also Path AI, which is actually a client of mine. Specifically for Google, obviously one of their other big aspects when it comes to healthcare, specifically around Google Ventures. They have a massive funding arm to Google. It's called Google Ventures. You may be familiar with it. They're heavily invested in a lot of AI companies as well. So not only are they getting into the game, obviously, internally, but they're acquiring a lot of companies and funding brand new companies that are starting up, specifically in healthcare AI, which is not a shock. These are some of their Google Ventures and just this year alone. So 1 in 4 Google Ventures in 2024 go to this sector. So they're obviously investing heavily into therapeutics. It looks like what else here? We've got oncology therapeutics and some other things up here on the screen. So again, if you want access to this PDF, I'm going to include this in the description below. Microsoft aims to, and then now we're switching over to Microsoft. So their whole game when it comes to healthcare is specifically around connecting healthcare and the actual infrastructure. These are just a couple of quotes specifically from the CEO. Both of these quotes are from the CEO for Microsoft, introducing healthcare data solutions in Microsoft Fabric. So it's enable providers to unify healthcare data. Again, there's so much data that's out there. So Microsoft is bridging that gap, as I mentioned earlier, with all that healthcare data and partnering with a lot of these healthcare systems, medical practices. They're also acquiring companies as well. So Nuance gives Microsoft a provider-ready AI tools that integrate into the ecosystem. So again, they're not only doing for the healthcare data, but they're also acquiring companies. This was a massive acquisition a couple years ago. So Microsoft dropped about $20 billion for this company, specifically again for that AI-ready tool. So they're investing heavily. They're still the lowest player when it comes to big tech and healthcare, but they're definitely putting their putting their information, putting their name in the hat for sure. Again, they're going to continue to acquire companies. They've got obviously a lot of acquisitions in this space. They're taking minority stakes in like this digital platform called Page. They're also taking, it looks like in Flywheel, which is another medical imaging AI platform. And that's a real challenge, as I was mentioning earlier. It's like, how do you help automate some of this? And the scans, you can only do it so often, right? If you're your human eyeball and you're a pathologist or radiologist, you can see only so many scans. So this is like your trusty sidekick when it comes to AI, helping obviously read those scans when it comes to an important topic like oncology. So switching gears, this is the last company, NVIDIA. Obviously, for NVIDIA, they're one of the largest players in the space. They've got their hands in a lot of different things when it comes to healthcare. So you can see up here, drug discovery, surgery, medical imaging, and wearable devices. So they're definitely spreading out across the healthcare space. They're obviously leveraging their hardware. It's their current advantage, whether it's hardware for AI computing programs, for healthcare applications. Clara is one that there's like a specialized AI tool that that's their main solution right now when it comes to hardware. And then obviously collaborating to launch supercomputer for pharma for AI, which will help in drug discovery, clinical trials. So that's a massive part of it. And that's why I think they're going to be the leader, in my opinion, when it comes to healthcare, as far as a big tech company having the biggest advantage. They're going to be collaborating with early stage startups to advance, again, medical imaging. So everybody's in this medical imaging for AI, all these 4 big tech companies. So we'll see who the winner is in several years, but they're definitely both putting their names in there when it comes to like medical imaging. And as I was mentioning earlier, that's the challenge right now. So Cybo Scouting is one company that they invested in for early stage startup. SegMed is another one that they continue to invest in. The other thing is, what I was mentioning was the surgical applications too. So they've partnered with some really big med tech medical device companies, one of them Johnson and Johnson. So they have enhanced AI in actually surgery. So earlier I was talking about imaging and the need. Same thing with surgery, right? To be more precise. So surgeons are using AI as well when it comes to medtech. There's a couple other major acquisitions here when it comes to, again, investing in the space. They've got recent partnerships enabling hospitals of the future. So this is really cool. NVIDIA's investing in the smart hospitals of the future. One of these reports, and I don't know if it's on this one or the next one, but they have, here it is, this Artisite. So they've backed multiple rounds to Artisite, which actually builds smart hospital tech to mitigate clinical burden and obviously staff shortages. That's the other challenge for healthcare right now, is there's just not enough HCPs and nurses out there. So how do you create this smart hospital, this with using tech from NVIDIA? So for example, this is kind of an anonymous, it just says C-level executive. It's a healthcare provider, but they mentioned they have about 700 cameras deployed across our system in all ICU rooms, med surgery rooms, in the ED rooms to facilitate managing care at scale. So it'll be interesting to see. I love kind of going down the rabbit hole of this one to see more about these smart hospital techs and how they're helping this burden, obviously, for staff shortages. And honestly, that's the last information I wanted to share. So as you kind of unpack some of this for your own investing or just own interest, I hope this information's been valuable. And I'm going to be bringing more of this. And again, I'm going to give you access to this PDF. There's going to be a PDF you can download, or I can just put a link down in the description below. And I'm going to be continuing this. Again, this data specifically through CB Insights.